Yet here we are. Oh yeah. Good morning, everybody. And first in here, good morning, Stephen Bell. First on any platform to say anything on this fine Monday morning. Is Monday and fine usually said together? Probably not. Welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop. This is the place on the internet where you can ask traffic cops questions about stuff and things. Usually police related, usually traffic related, but nevertheless, it is a place where I am. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and this is what I do. At least this is some of what I do. I do a lot of different things. I hope you had a magical weekend. And I hope you had an entertaining April Fool's. And I say that with a grin on my face because I posted something that got a bunch of attention from in various ways. I got a bunch of people who were very happy, very, very angry for various reasons. But I want to talk about it. Of course, we're going to get into it. We'll talk about it throughout the hour because we are here right till 11 o'clock Eastern time answering your traffic and police questions because we care. We actually want to make your lives a little better. We want to make ourselves accessible so that you can have the sometimes complicated questions about traffic law and traffic safety explained from somebody who knows, and that somebody is me, and often Sergeant Murray Campbell, who joins me, and sometimes Sergeant Melissa Kulik, who occasionally joins, because we're all busy doing different stuff, but they try and carve out time because they love you. Now, I want to let you know that if you are interested in asking questions, we would love that. That's what we're really here for. This is a show that's completely directed by you. We don't generally have anything planned. It's all based on you. So if you've got questions, ask them. Now, if you're coming in through TikTok, we have JD, our producer, who is going to cut and paste and do all that jazz so that I can put your questions on the screen and answer them that way. So put a Q in front of your question, please, on that platform. And while you're, digging deep into your soul to find a question that you want to ask on TikTok, please tap that screen until your finger goes numb. It helps the show by showing likes. The likes go to the algorithm. The algorithm says this is worthy of being watched. And of course, you can also share it if you want to give us an endorsement like that. Share it amongst the people you know, or even the people you don't know. Tell people to come watch. But seriously, queue before the questions in the chat so they can ask it. I saw one just pop in, but also please like and share. And that goes for everybody on any platform. Now, if you're coming through on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, we'll start with those. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook. When you put a question on screen or a comment, like Ryan Pin just did by saying good morning, we can put your question on screen. If you're on Instagram, you can ask questions, and I see you on that other phone device that I'm staring at to their side, but your questions won't be seen by anybody else. So either jump over to YouTube or I'll eventually get you here. But I do tend to take a little longer on Instagram to catch you. Now, if you're on Twitter, my apologies in advance. It does not work with our system. We will not see your questions. So like the link in my initial post 10 minutes ago was go to YouTube. It is going to be the easiest place for you to interact with us. And let's get a move on. So we've got is it Nisarj who says hello, and then we already got Stephen Bell who came in with a good morning. A quick little thing before we get into all the cues. I see we got folks coming in from Peterborough. Oh, it's Master Technician. What's going on? We got lots of folks coming in. And it's that build. The build as the 10 o'clock comes. But I want to just quickly do some housekeeping, and that is to discuss Vision Zero Enforcement Team. We talk about it Monday to Friday. When I am here, I announce where they are and what they do and what their goals are, and let's do that. So first of all, the Vision Zero Enforcement Team is a team of dedicated officers that go out and enforce the Highway Traffic Act. And they focus on the big four. That's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Now, do they give other tickets? Sure. They're going to enforce other laws too, but their focus is the stuff that leads to serious injury and death on our roads. It's driver behaviors that people choose to engage in. So if you want to meet an officer and have a ticket issued in your name, that's what you need to do. And I'm being, I'm suggesting you don't break the law, obviously. We want to make the road safe for everyone, vulnerable road users especially. Those are pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists, and people who don't have the protection of the big cages that many of us drive. So we're asking you to slow down, be courteous, put the phone down, and of course, drive sober. Okay, where are they today? Because they're in different places every day. Today being April 3rd, and by the way, happy April. Welcome spring happened before April kicked in, but still, it feels better today, even though it was -1 when I left the house. So we have 32 division and 43 division, and if you don't know what that means in terms of divisional boundaries, many people don't, relate to our divisional boundaries, even though we really get used to it. That includes the neighborhoods of Downsview, Willowdale, Newtonbrook, Bathurst Manor, Bendale, Woburn, Highland Creek, West Hill, Guildwood, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play, and they deserve to be safe. You wouldn't want people driving unsafely in your neighborhood, putting your family at risk. Don't do it to other people either. We want everyone to get home safely every single day. And with that, I will transition into the live with questions. Now, I want to bring up a couple things. If you have questions about becoming a police officer, feel free to ask. I am one. I went through the process. I can shed some information, share some information, but I also have some links for you and contact information, websites that we can reference, things of that nature. Sadly, I have not updated the logo on our screen. The peace sign there, that is for Volley, which will not be no more at the end of the month unless something miraculous happens. But, I have my fingers crossed. But at the moment, we're transitioning back to Discord. And the Discord server is somewhere that we may be able to. I can't promise that we're spending too much time there today because I haven't really got my bearings right. I'm so used to the Volley. Let's see if there's anything going on in Volley. I do have some stuff posted over the weekend, conversations that were occurring here. Okay, we'll come back to this. Now, in terms of questions from the crew here, what is this? Pepe wanted to know about, did I hear about the driver that got charged for going too slow on the 400 series highway? I did. I saw that PC Pappy was on the 401 and charged a driver for doing 60 kilometers an hour in a 100 kilometer an hour zone. I don't know the specifics about what was going on, but that charge was laid. And maybe in the environment they were in, that was reasonable. There was a comment, though, in that article, and it said, if you're driving slow, turn on your hazards. And really, if you're driving slow, get off the highway, but don't use your hazards unless you're pulled over and parked. It really confuses drivers, more so in the inclement weather when it's bad weather. But in any case, we don't generally advise people to use their hazard lights unless they're a hazard. I guess if you're doing 60 and a 100, it could be perceived that way. Anyway, moving on. The 808 is 10% off until the 10th. Well, isn't that cool? I did not know about that. The 808 is the Toronto Police Museum gift shop. We have a store at headquarters where you can buy Toronto Police merch, and apparently they have a 10% off promotion. I'm going to go check it out because I always like stuff from there. I wear our merch. I like it. I wear a lot. I have a lot. My wife does not like the fact that I have like everything says Toronto Police on it. Well, I'm a fan. I support the team. Okay. Question from Ice Wallow. Okay, I'm not saying that. And I just caught that. I don't know if anybody else caught that. Okay, moving back. What was the question? The question was, when you leave the police service, do you get to keep your weapons or your uniform? You can apply to have your dress uniform if you're retiring, so you can participate in events like memorial events. But your actual regular your weapons, no, you wouldn't keep those. Okay. What else do we have? Whew. Samantha, how do you get a suspended license back? Okay. That is a good question. So if you're once your suspension is expired or you've completed your suspension, you would go to a Service Ontario and apply. You have to pay a reinstatement fee and make an application to get your license back. And that's really all there is to it. It is a Service Ontario process. Good morning to Tim Shallow. And we have Kali Dalio. Oh, that was the same question differently. There we go. So yeah, we already answered it. We'll move along. Is the law the same here as it in London, Ontario? Is the same? Yes. The law in Ontario covers all of Ontario, although there are bylaws that municipalities can put into place. Those usually deal with things like parking and possibly turns. But the HTA is the same everywhere you go in Ontario. All right, moving on. Oh, storm watch. Richard is dealing with a not so wonderful weather in Thunder Bay. Oh, okay. We have a question about heavy commercial vehicles. Any specific time to enter in city area? I'm not aware of any time limitations to entering with a commercial vehicle. Uh, yeah, I'm not aware of any. So if there's no signage to it, I'm not aware of it. Is it legal to drive with factory interior lights on? Actually, yes, it is. I grew up thinking that it was not legal. Why? Because my mom and dad said, turn off those lights or we're going to get pulled over. So I was under the impression that it was not legal. However, it is legal. Now, it may not be legal everywhere. I speak about laws in Ontario primarily, and when I posted a video years ago about this, it went quasi viral, and people were responding going that their parents lied to them. And maybe they lied to all of us, but it may be possible that in some places it is illegal. So know before you go. Here's a question. Is a cracked taillight with tuck tape covering the bulbs illegal? I don't know if you mean duct tape, because duct tape is not transparent. Is tuck tape red and transparent? Ultimately, your brake lights, your taillight covers must be functional and discernible at 150 meters. If that's taking it from meeting the requirement under law, then it might be illegal, and it's going to be up to the observations and the discretion of the officer that's pulling you over. They may see it as an issue. They may say that you've made reasonable attempts to make sure that you're not projecting white light to the rear. So it all depends. But by letter of law, if it meets the requirements, I would say you're okay. If it's really broken, you should get it fixed, and that's not a long-term thing. Not only does the tape not seal it from moisture, which means it might fail, you may be having less effective lighting, even if it's not perceived as an issue. Ron has a question. What is this? Ron Sorrell wants to know, at a two-way stop, first car is turning left, second arrives is going straight, who has the right of way? Two-way stop. So does that mean that you have one is a through road, and the first car is turning left across the through road, and the second one wants to go straight through the thing? So essentially, it gets complicated. Normally, you'd say first to arrive, first to drive. If the person is crossing over the road, it complicates things. So the person turning left, if they're first, should go first. But if the second person has the opportunity to drive first, it's going to be a little more complicated. And at the end of the day, people who are turning and crossing major roadways are generally considered at fault when they cause a collision, or if a collision occurs. So the easiest way to answer it, regardless of who has the right of way, is wait a second. And if you are questioning whether or not it's safe to go, don't go, because right of way doesn't mean a thing if it causes a collision. At the end of the day, you want to avoid collisions. So give it a couple of seconds. There's simply better yet, Scott Marshall says that right of way isn't something that you take or that is earned. It is something you give. So if you have any question as to what the other person's going to do and you're concerned for safety, give it a couple of beats, let them go first, and you'll get there 30 seconds later than you originally hoped. Because you can argue a right of way, and at the end of the day, you're gonna just be in a collision. So just avoid collisions. Collision's bad. Too many people. What is this? Too many rolling stops. People pulling out right out in front of you. Any chance of enforcement to wake them up? Jackson Freeman wants to know, and he's coming in through Facebook. So rolling stops are illegal. They're not stops, because if you don't stop, you didn't stop, and thus you should be charged. People pulling out in front of you. I historically, when I was on the road, did a lot of stop sign enforcement because that's aggressive driving. But we do enforcement in areas. We're generally directed based on crash data, and so being at the place where people are doing it, if you have an issue with a specific intersection, I suggest putting in a report. You can go to tps.ca and you can file a report about a neighborhood complaint. You know what I can do? I can also just show you on screen. tps.ca. Well, let me share it with you for a second, because there's an easy procedure for this or way of doing it. No, not invite guests. Share screen. That's what I want. Window, Chrome tab. Here we go. Okay. Share. So I'm going to get rid of your question. You would go to, let me turn off my graphics too. Okay. When you can, how do I make a report? Where do we have here? There is non-emergency. How do I report illegal parking? There's a whole bunch of, if I go here, online reporting, I just knew that anything there would take us there. So file a report. Parking complaint, driving complaint. Here we go. Neighborhood traffic issue or concern. This is what you want. And you can go to create a report and you start the process. So if people are not doing the right thing, this is where you make the report. And it's to give the local police division the opportunity to assign officers to engage and do enforcement. So if we don't know about that one being a particular problem or if it's everywhere, yeah, I can't help you. We need to see it in order to act on it. But if it's a particular place that's a concern, absolutely thing. Oh, apparently, hang on a second. Apparently Twitch is not reporting what we are today correctly. Stand by. We are live. Switching to creator mode. How do I update here? Edit stream info. Category talk. There we go. Done. I've updated it. My apologies to the Twitch community who thought we were playing Call of Duty Mobile. What do we have here? Looking for a question to ask or to answer. What is the purpose of a... Oh, yeah. The question is, what is the purpose of a fully stocked bar at the Toronto Police Headquarters? There's a senior officers lounge, but I don't get invited there, so I don't know. Let's see here. Is it legal to smoke cigarettes or vape while driving? As long as the contents of the cigarettes are tobacco or the vape is tobacco or non drug related, then it is legal to smoke or vape while driving, as long as it doesn't bring you or prevent you from driving or operating your vehicle safely. If you're swerving all over the road because you can't multitask, which is really a misnomer. There's no such thing as multitasking. You are switching between events. It could be careless driving, and if you throw your cigarette butts out the window, it's littering. But it's not illegal to. Is it consuming cigarettes? I guess you're consuming them. Oh yes, Chase. There is that. Jim Richards, I was on the show last week talking about distracted driving. I didn't even get into all the distracted driving things that I've seen and ticketed people for, because the use of devices is wild. Just how addicted people are to them, and it's not cool. But we were talking about things, and he was talking about some other things, and that's what Chase is discussing. Okay, we have Akela who says. Greetings and salutations from the TMC. Is that Traffic Management Center, or what is? Well, let's see here. I may have your. I have to make sure I'm representing all my what is it called? My why can't I think of what it's called? Anyway, moving on. Acronym. That's what I was thinking. Some police services. Oh, Ryan Pinn says some police services will actually put your badge in a polymer. I think it's called lucite, well, maybe that is a polymer when you retire to keep people from using it. There must be a side question or discussion about badges and things like that I'm late to the game on. Chase says, are the MTO camera on some highways that are usually used to watch traffic flow ever used to determine collision fault? To the best of my knowledge, they are not recorded, so unless they were live viewed, there'd be no way of reviewing them for that purpose. Let's see here. Hi, officer. Do rear seat passengers need to wear a seatbelt in Toronto? Well, in fact, rear seat passengers need to wear seatbelts in Ontario. There's no exemption based on seating location. And every person inside the vehicle not only has to wear the seatbelt, they must sit in a seat that has a seatbelt and available to them to use. If there's not enough seatbelts to go around, they can't be in the car. Okay. Ooh, lots of stuff coming in. Read that in the Bosch book? Which part's not real? Now you're throwing me off. Okay. Marcus. Hi, what are the rules for car chasing? What do you mean? Like how many? I was going to make a bad joke. The rules are that we have to evaluate every situation based on that situation. So there's no specific "thou shalt not chase." There is a basically determination being called for what the offense is, why we're going to be pursuing them, what's the purpose of pursuing them. If it's a person with a child on board that's being kidnapped, we're probably going to chase versus someone who went through a stop sign and we could just meet them at their house because we can see their license plate. We're not going to chase that person. We're going to go meet them at their house and charge them later. I will say this: when you chase, when you run away from the police, you've escalated a minor traffic event into a criminal charge. So just be aware. It's stupid to run from the police. There's no other way to put it. It really is a clown move. Okay. What is this? Can you have a header or straight pipe on car? Let's put it on here. Can you have a header and a straight pipe on a car? Also, what is the limit on exhaust sound? So, a header, I'm not a mechanic, but my understanding is header is possibly, where I'm not even going to make a guess. My understand here, 1 second. Anything that comes out basically bypassing the exhaust system, if that's possibly a header that where you're getting stacks that are releasing gases directly from the engine, that would be an Environmental Protection Act issue. And straight pipes are also a problem because you have to have a muffler and a resonator if your vehicle was manufactured with them. So if you're modifying it and taking those pieces of equipment out of the chain, that's a major problem. Okay. And in terms of exhaust sound, what's the maximum limit? It is a 74 decibels is what the manufacturer limits are, according to mechanic friends of ours. But in terms of what's going to get you a ticket for unnecessary noise, it's anything unnecessary. It could be a stock vehicle that's being revved, to draw attention. That's unnecessary noise. You get a charge for that. Assuming you have all of your other equipment installed. If you're unnecessary noise, but you also have no exhaust system or no muffler in your exhaust system, you're going to get a no muffler ticket as well. And thank you to JD, who says that the LAPD does that for retired officers, putting the what's it called? The badge into a lucite cube, and it's prevented from being used, I guess, or for making it a display item. In Toronto, the badge is returned, and you get a retired badge, and it says on it "retired." So that's a cool thing. So it's gonna be different for every place you go, and that it is a thing that Ryan was talking about. Oh. We got a volley where it's still working. Got it. Okay. Can you confirm whether the stick-on license plates are illegal or not? When you say stick-on, I need to know what you mean. Do you mean a plastic adhesive or a vinyl sticker that replaces your actual issued license plate? The only license plate that you can have is the license plate that's issued by the ministry. You can't make your own. So I don't know what you mean by stick-on. Maybe you can clarify. Traffic Management Center. Okay, cool. I was correct. What is this? Oh, okay. We're going to come back to that. What's the law for stopping for school buses? Well, if the lights are flashing, you got to stop. You can't pass them. If they're yellow flashing lights, we were the last province in the country to switch to a 2-stage, yellow or amber and red. When the ambers are on, it's letting you know that they're going to come to a stop. And once it stops, it's going to switch to red. And once it's red, you can't pass it. You can't go around. You have to wait. Now, if it's on a divided highway, which means that there's a grass or a raised center median, well, then only the traffic that is traveling, you can't pass it. So that side of the road has to stop. The opposing traffic, the traffic going the other way on the other side of the barrier, doesn't have to stop. It's the same thing for emergency vehicles. If it is an undivided highway where it's just a painted line, then all traffic must stop. You can't pass in either direction. And Kingman wants to know, how do we ask a question? You just did. Okay. There's lots of questions. You got to wait in line, but we'll get to you. Let's see here. We talked about this. We talked about that. Okay. Stephen Bell. I've seen a license plate in the back of a car that's tinted. Is it against the law? So if you mean a tinted license plate covering a license plate, it's absolutely against the law. You can't cover it even with a clear license plate cover. Anything that covers your license plate in any way, shape, or form is prohibited, and you can be charged $110 for obscuring the plate. If it's dirty, it's against the law. If it's covered in any way, like basically, the license plate must be visible from all directions. Obviously, not from the side of the car when it's posted. Yeah, we're not talking about X-ray vision here, but yeah, it has to be visible from all angles, from the back of the vehicle and from the front, and that's it. So if you put anything, whether it be bubbled or designed specifically to evade detection, or if it's just to protect it, but it creates issues with the visibility, even if it doesn't create visibility issues, it's technically not legal. Okay. What's the law on that? We talked about that. Can we eat and drink while driving? So it's sort of the same thing as the smoking and vaping question. If it's not causing you to or negatively impacting your ability to safely drive, then it's really not an issue. If you're swerving because that sub that you're chowing down on is just so good, that's a problem. And then you could be charged for not distracted driving, but careless driving. Like if you're driving with your knees and eating a sandwich with both hands, that's careless driving. Okay. Getting closer to the king men. Okay. Gavin D'Souza. Can you keep a photocopy of your ownership in the car rather than the original? Yes, you can, as long as it's what's called a true copy, front and back. And if you have a copy that is valid, so it can't be something that's expired 20 years ago, has old information, but it has to be current and valid, then you're good to go. And that's the best way to go. You want to prevent someone from breaking into your car, taking an ownership document that you have left in the vehicle, and turning around and selling your car by forging your signature. Because once it's gone, it's gone. For G2 drivers, here's Kingman. For G2 drivers, if it's your third time getting caught and take the program for again, does your point reset? Points expire based on time. So if you are convicted, whether it be because you paid for it or because time has elapsed 2 years from the date of offense after you've been convicted, then they reduce. But just simply getting so many tickets that you start again, I think your points will remain until they expire. But that's me thinking it. Best thing to do is check with the Ministry of Transportation. It would be pretty silly if we just let people reset by getting so many that they get suspended and then just start again. Okay. Please say so. Sophia says, please say details about one eye issue in driving in Canada. Oh, so I was given a comment or a question in DMs yesterday, and I'm happy to discuss this. I responded, so hopefully you got my response. But the question was, if someone has one eye, can they drive in Ontario? And the answer is yes. Yes, they can. You have to meet the minimum vision requirements, but if you only have one eye, they test the one eye you have. And you can, in fact, drive in Ontario with one eye. It might be different in different jurisdictions, but here you're good to go. And I imagine you'd be good everywhere else too. But it is always good to check before you go somewhere. But you would be eligible for a license here. Okay. What is this? Question about employment. And the question is, can someone who with green and red color blindness get hired? Also, what kind of eye test does police do? So the deal is that you have to have proper color acuity, which means you cannot be colorblind to be a police officer. So if you cannot differentiate between green and red, you would not be eligible to become a police officer. However, you could be a special constable unless things have changed. So let's take a moment to look at what the requirements are. No, I took it off the screen. Hang on, I've got to put it back. Here we go. Okay, careers. And now we're going to go down to police constable. And if you're curious about how to get to this webpage, tps.ca/careers. And there you can find everything you ever wanted to know, all the requirements. And it says here, minimum 2040 uncorrected. And I'm not seeing the words binocular vision, but it is both eyes with normal color acuity. Maybe there's more details below. Maybe not, but we're going to find out. Compensation benefits. Yeah, it doesn't specify here. Yeah, don't see it. I don't see it. But it is 20/40 uncorrected binocular vision, so with both eyes open. Now, you can get laser if like I got laser surgery prior to being a candidate or before I became an applicant, and by getting that surgery, I was able to meet the vision requirements. But it was just because I wore glasses. And then, oddly enough, a decade later, I need glasses again because as we age, our eyes get less good. If you're new to the channel and have no idea what's going on here, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety and traffic law and police stuff. So if you've got questions, we've got answers. Feel free to jump into the conversation and ask them. If you're coming in through one of the many platforms that we're currently broadcasting on, you can get us on TikTok, we know because we have a whole bunch of people there. And then if you can ask questions there, and JD will take your questions and put them into the chat. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook, I'll be able to see them directly. If you're on Instagram, I'll see them on that phone. And if you're on Twitter, I see nothing. I don't see you at all. You don't exist to me. Twitter is unfortunately outside of what's functions, and we can't see your questions. So please jump over to our YouTube, go to trafficcop.ca so you can see other ways to connect with us. Okay, let's see what's going on here. I scrolled too far back. Hello. Howdy.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have Sergeant Campbell who's joining us.
Good morning, everyone.
I give you a microphone level. Yes. Welcome to the party.
Well, I'm glad to be back.
So, and we're glad to have you back. How is all the ninja stuff?
So for the last 3 days, I have been doing our annual use of force requalification and training. We do an awful lot of stuff, including our use of force stuff, but also decision-making, information sessions, interacting with people, really good stuff. It's actually getting an awful lot better and more in-depth than what I'm used to there. Used to be just ninja.
I like the ninja
stuff.
But I like all of it, actually.
No, very good.
We got a morning Murray from Akela.
Good morning.
And a morning good morning Sergeant from Richard. Okay.
And he spelled my name wrong.
Yes, he did. I just noticed that. I didn't notice it originally. But of course, when you told me, I looked again, and lo and behold, it was incorrectly spelled. Okay. We talked about this. We talked about that. 3 questions that we didn't talk about.
Oh.
After I sold a vehicle, it's perfect timing. How can I confirm that it's been transferred in the 6-day period, and what do I do if it's not? I like to suggest, aside from how to check after the fact, that you actually transfer vehicles at the ministry, because then you know it's done. You just take the vehicle package, you meet the person there, and you do it right then and there. Sometimes it's not possible, but I suggest that if it is at all possible, that's the best way to go. How do you confirm?
So it is the driver's responsibility, or the new owner's responsibility, to change it over into their name in 6 days. It's a $110 ticket if they don't. But you are held liable, or could be held liable, for things that happen to your vehicle while it's still in your name. Unfortunately, the Repairs and Storage Liens Act still says that the registered owner, doesn't mean who really owns it, but the registered owner is responsible for anything civil should it get towed into a pound and held there. And you'd be the only person that would be able to get it out. My biggest suggestion to you is it's your obligation as selling a vehicle to get the used vehicle information package. There's some instructions in there on what to do. Use that package, fill it out completely, get the identification of the person that is buying it from you, make sure that they sign it and the full information is written on there. And I even go as far as taking a photocopy of their driver's license along with my driver's license on the bill of sale, and keeping that should anything happen. So it is their responsibility to do. There's no way to check unless you go into the Ministry of Transportation and inquire. If you do go in and inquire, have the Ministry of Transportation registered as vehicle status as sold. If you do that right away, it gives you a little more
Well,
how do I say it? It shows that you've done all the right things, everything you can in a timely manner.
Mhm.
Should you now get collections knocking on your door saying you owe $5,000 because a vehicle that you used to own is now in the pound?
And if you were to have a conversation or a call from police saying, where's your vehicle, or you've tried to explain it, you have a record of things you've done, it shows a chain of events. It's good.
Yep, absolutely. Very quick personal little story about it. I was selling my daughter's ATV, and it's not one that you need a used vehicle information package for, because it's not going on the road. It's an off-road vehicle. So I set up that I was going to sell it to a person that came to my house. Everything was good. So I asked him for his driver's license, and he refused to give it to me. He says, I'm not giving you my driver's license. I said, okay, this is the reason why I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it on the bill of sale and photocopy it and give it to you. On that bill of sale, you're going to have my information, my driver's license, and I'm going to have yours.
Mhm.
It's going to have the date and the time that we sold the vehicle and what the vehicle was. That way, if you take my vehicle and you go away and all of a sudden you go to register it and you find out that it's a stolen vehicle, then you can go to the police and say, this is the person who I bought it from. Here's a picture of their driver's license, and they sold it to me. And then that will give you recourse coming back civilly to get your money back. Additionally, if that person doesn't change it into their name and something was to happen, maybe, somebody was to get hit and hurt, and then they would come after me, I would have something to say, no, on this date, this time, with this signature, I sold this vehicle.
It's all about managing liability.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
You want to have some proof. So there's a couple of things there.
If that guy didn't give me the driver's license,
you were going to sell it to him.
No, absolutely not.
I agree with that. We have, can you be charged for having only one hand on the steering wheel? Could one hand be careless? If you only have one hand, can you drive? So I don't think that it would be, careless driving, but the activity while only having one hand on the wheel could be careless driving.
If you got into a situation and you chose only to use one hand.
Yeah, maybe. It all depends.
You know what? Sometimes you have to only drive with one hand if you have a standard car.
Yeah. So there is no charge for one-handed driving. There is a charge for careless driving, and that's going to be based on all of the events that take place and what the
totality of it.
The totality. A holistic approach
There
to
you go.
enforcement. What is the law on lighting underneath the vehicle, specifically white lights? So Underglow is something that we used to talk about a whole lot and seems to be less interesting, or people seem to be less interested in it this year. The deal is that there's nothing specifically against the law for having underglow as long as the bulbs are not visible and shining light outward. So if you're only seeing the light reflecting off the ground, you really don't have anything that I would complain about.
No, especially if it's white light. Different colored light, if it's shining or projecting forward, that maybe gets you into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, or flashing, because sometimes they strobe or blink with music. So intermittent flashes of red light would be prohibited. I don't know about the interpretation about flashing off the ground versus flashing in a direction. The biggest issue is directional light. If it's being projected forward or to the sides, that's the biggest problem. If you're just illuminating the ground, I don't think there's much of an issue. And I've sort of gone a long way around this because I once upon a time would have told you just don't do it. And I don't want to tell you that specifically because it's based on interpretations. And we can tell you something that we interpret as okay, and then some officer somewhere else can disagree with us, write you the ticket, and then it's going to be ultimately up to the justice of the peace. What
I can say is don't do it. It's so yesterday.
Yeah, but what's old is new, right?
Well, yeah. It hasn't come around yet, though.
No. We have a question from Usman who says, have you heard about 2 police officers who got killed in Edmonton? Unless this is something new, this is something quite a while ago, and they've recently had their funerals. So this is not new. I'm hoping this is not new information and that there's nobody else who's been injured or killed. But we had heard about that, and we have members who went to the funeral, and it's a tragic story. Let's see here. We got a bunch of stuff that's come in recently. Now that car stickers have been discontinued, do I need to renew anything? If yes, how? Oh, you've just made my day because I get to show you this, which is trafficcop.ca. You can follow along if you like, but trafficcop.ca is a magical link tree. It's my magical link tree. And if you visit it, that's not my link tree.
No.
Oh, the wrong button. Hang on. Let's try that again because that was the website for the Toronto Police recruiting. That's not what I wanted to share with you. Okay. Now it's my magical link tree. And at the bottom of my magical link tree, after you're going through all of my social and all the Toronto Police social and all of the traffic services specific links, you get to the very bottom. And at the very bottom, it says useful links. And right here is renew your license plate. If you go there, it takes you right to the Ministry of Transportation. Oh, it opened a new window and didn't share it with you. Oh, well. If you click it, like I just did, I can see that you can renew your license plate. Basically, you punch in your license plate number. It will then bring up your file and give you the opportunity to renew. You have to do things like share updated mileage, everything you had to do before you do now, except you don't pay for most vehicles. If your vehicle is over 3,000 kilos, it'll tell you. And if you have any outstanding fines, it will make you pay it before it'll allow you to renew. So that being the case, you have to renew. It's 1 or 2 years. And if you don't, it's a $110 fine. And in fact, you could even get to the point where your license plate is suspended, which is a unique thing. I don't see it very often.
Yep.
Where they actually suspend a plate. A driver's license check is a great tool. If you're going to loan your vehicle to a friend, make sure that they are in fact licensed, because otherwise you're responsible for enabling or permitting somebody who is not properly licensed to operate a motor vehicle. If you're new to Canada, or if you're visiting, you can certainly check here to see what the rules are about driving and transferring licenses if you become a new resident. And if you want to check your vehicle before you buy it to make sure it's not stolen, which is probably a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's checking to make sure that you are good to go there. Lots of great information that you can get from those sites.
Nice tree.
I like my tree.
Yeah.
It's growing. I add new stuff to it all the time. If I find something cool, I throw it there. What do we have here? We got a whole bunch of stuff. All right. Okay. Sergeant Campbell can... loan her trailer out?
I would say trailer.
Trailer. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely, she can.
I'm borrowing my friend's trailer right now.
Is your sister-in-law a nice person? Then she probably wouldn't mind lending it out. Don't do it on her behalf, but yep, you can. So as long as the vehicle that is towing the trailer has good insurance on it, has liability insurance, that will extend to the trailer as well. Make sure it's plated. Make sure it's properly plated. Make sure you carry the ownership with you. Not a problem at all.
Cool. I saw a question about tourists. Here we go. Do tourists need to carry driving license and passport on them when driving in Canada? So the answer is they need to carry a driver's license that's valid in order to drive. If you're talking about walking around, identification is good, but it's not necessarily a mandatory thing to carry with you. It may be helpful in the event that you need to make a report or identify themselves to police or get any services or help. Things are good to have, but if driving a motor vehicle, definitely they must be able to surrender a driver's license.
And I would suggest carrying your passport with you as well. Should something happen and they have to get a hold of, an agency that may be able to help you in a foreign country, that's a great way to do it. Great way for police to identify you, where you're from, make inquiries of when you came in the country. Next of kin contact information is always on the back of your passport. So good thing to carry.
I agree. Question for Sergeant Campbell. Do you need insurance for a boat in Ontario?
Lawfully? No, you don't.
I was shocked to find that out, actually.
Yeah, no, you don't need it. All of my vessels, and I have a few, all of my vessels do have insurance on it. It's the one vehicle where even if you're doing something that is not wrong, accidents can happen. Slip and falls, things like that can happen. Having a good liability insurance to cover you while you're on the waterways, absolutely. Especially if you're going to lend your boat out or jet ski or anything else.
It's good stuff. More questions for you and your off-roady stuff. With an ATV,
soon ATVs, it's coming.
With ATV, is there a set speed limit on public roads?
Yes. So if the speed limit on the road is 50 kilometers an hour or less, the speed an ATV can travel on the very far right-hand side of the roadway is 20 kilometers an hour. If the speed on the roadway is above 50, above 50. Sorry, I may have that confused. Anything under 80, the speed is 20 kilometers an hour. And anything above 80 or above, the speed is 50 kilometers an hour. There has to be a good speed differential to allow vehicles to get around you. If you're traveling at 10 kilometers under the speed limit and you're zipping down the side of the road, it's tougher for vehicles to move over and pass and get around you.
A big thing is if the municipality permits these to be used on the road at all.
Yes. So there was a change to the act where it said municipalities had to let you onto the roadways. Now it grandfathers you in, and the municipality can set roads that you're not allowed to travel on. And more municipalities are setting those roads. So check and make sure. Certain towns have certain portions of the road that you can travel on and others that you can't. So make sure you're lawful when you're going.
Yeah, I was traveling. I was up in Keswick recently, and I saw an ATV barreling down the center of the lane, keeping up with, if not passing traffic. It was cooking. So I'm guessing wasn't lawful.
Yeah, no.
Is there a law that says you have to use snow tires or chains in the winter? So in Ontario, chains are prohibited. To my understanding, you can't use snow chains.
Off-road you can.
But this is we're talking about on the road. And then snow tires aren't required, but they're obviously beneficial. But there are studded tires, and those can only be used in Northern Ontario, depending on where you live. So there are some rules. Depends on where you're going with this, Mark, but certainly there are rules that prevent certain things, and but there's nothing mandating or requiring it. Now, if you go to Ottawa, Quebec. In Quebec, it's mandated.
Yeah, you cannot drive in Quebec, even if you're a visitor, without.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Did not know that. We have a Chase has a dad joke that we're going to get to. Larry, truck driver, question. Is there any law in Ontario for interior cabin sleeper colored lights for commercial trucks? I don't know about commercial trucks. For regular motor vehicles, there's nothing saying you can't have your interior light on. It's not a good idea because it does affect or could affect your night vision, which is probably why you want the light on to see things. We have red interior lights, or cabin lights for police cars now, and that's because it does less damage or it affects your light vision less.
Your night vision.
Yes.
Yes, it doesn't affect your pupil as much, so your pupil doesn't open up. The problem with the red lights in your cab, though, is it projects red to the front, and that's an absolute no-no. You can't do that while you're operating on the roads.
I wonder if that's projection versus, because it's not an illuminated projecting bulb, but it is visible to the front, so it could potentially be an issue.
But red is a really good light. If you're pulling over to the side of the road and turning on the interior light, a red will let you see what you're doing inside there without affecting your night vision.
Here's an interesting question. Are bolt-in roll cages legal in Ontario for a weekend race car that drives to the track? Roll cages, a proper racing roll cage, is not street legal. You'd need to have to use that, you need to have proper harness, a Hans device, a helmet. You can get from even a minor collision with a roll cage, depending on how it's configured, you can get brain damage from a minor collision because you're going to bounce around inside your vehicle. And I'm telling you this based on an episode we did with a race car driver who discussed at great length the issues with full roll cages, not roll bars, but full on roll cages.
So are you saying it is unlawful to drive on the road with them?
That's my understanding.
That's not my understanding.
And that's good. We have so at very least it's not safe.
So it does change the dynamics of your car. It does change the crumple zones of your car. On a racetrack going at speeds, that may be good and that may be bad. On a roadway, it may be good and it may be bad as well. You have to have all the original equipment that was manufactured with the car, your proper seatbelt. Even if you have a full harness, you need a proper seatbelt and it has to be on. Your steering wheel cannot be detachable. And there are a few other things, but I was not aware. Now I'm going to look.
We're going to double check.
I don't know if there's anything specifically prohibiting a roll cage.
My understanding is that it makes the vehicle unsafe. And I don't think that it specifically lists roll cage as a prohibited device. But when you start looking at all the other things that are required to make it safe, based on the safety of the vehicle, making it an unsafe vehicle is where I'd be going on that. So I don't think there's a roll cage law. I just think that based on what I know about it, I would deem that vehicle unsafe for the road.
See, I don't think I would.
But it is very interesting because in talking with Brian Max, who does all the racing business, it was somebody else I had a conversation with too, and I can't remember who it is now. But essentially, that minor low-speed collision could result in severe damage
Yep, absolutely.
because of it. So that at that point, you nullify a whole bunch of the other safety equipment. So it's an interesting conversation. We'll have to have more of it later because it's a rabbit hole that
Good question.
It is a good question. I like these questions.
I like the ones that make us go,
Yes, when we start doubting ourselves and why we're here and should we have gotten out of bed in the morning.
And just so you know, Sean and I have a whiteboard just over here.
Yes.
And on that whiteboard is when one of us was right, one of us was wrong. So
yeah,
we're pretty even right now.
You know what? It changes day to day. Well, not that often, but usually we're in agreement. Deborah, please tell me what the penalties are to the owner of the vehicle who knowingly let a non-licensed person drive. So it's for owner.
Permit.
It's permit, and it's actually extended to not just the owner. It includes the person who's in charge of the vehicle. So if you don't own the vehicle on paper, but you're the person who's allowed to use it, or you're the manager of a company that's in charge of it and deem and give the keys over to somebody, you take on that responsibility too. So Highway Traffic Act permit.
We have it on our phone
for
quick access. So
I'm thinking permit person to drive commercial vehicle not in accordance with regulations is one that's $400. We have permit person to drive, that's commercial. Permit person with improper license to drive, that's still done. Drive motor vehicle. So I'm looking for permit. Fraudulently obtained. It's condition, driver's licenses. Permit person with improper license to drive motor vehicle, $240. Here, permit person to drive motor vehicle in contravention of a condition. So if they weren't a motorcycle licensed person, let's say, actually, I don't know if that would be working. Would that be the condition one too?
Mm-hmm.
But improper license, if they're not licensed, which I would permit unlicensed person to drive motor vehicle.
That would be the one.
Same with 200. So it's 32 sub 10. $240, no points. The definition says no person who is the owner or is in possession or control of a motor vehicle or combination of vehicles shall permit any person to drive the motor vehicle or combination of vehicles on a highway unless the person holds a driver's license for the class of motor vehicles or combination of vehicles to which the motor vehicle or combination of vehicles belongs. They're never very wordy, these answers.
No,
descriptions.
Of course not. And an additional one to that is to permit a person under 16 to drive your vehicle. If at any time that happens, there's no set fine. You get sent directly to court.
Good to know.
Yeah.
On a highway.
On a highway.
Okay.
That includes road building machines, implements of husbandry, or farm tractors. So if you have a farm worker that's under 16 and you let them operate your tractor, you're going straight to court.
I like the Saturday Night Live thing, straight to jail. It's not straight to jail, but it is straight to court. Canadian Carper says, are rock lights allowed on trucks? They light up the wheel well. Same as Underglow. It's the same situation. If they're projecting light outward, visible other than directly to the ground, it could be an issue.
And rock lights are meant for off-roading.
Are they? Because I think rock lights is a manufacturer as opposed to the description of the. Because I think some of them are in the wheel well and some of them are behind the wheel just for show. Oh. I don't know if that's rock light. I have to do more research. I've heard them described differently, and I know nothing about the manufacturers of such things. The question what I thought I was putting up on screen was, I know Sergeant Campbell is your boss, but who is his boss?
Everybody has a boss.
Everybody has a boss, and Ryan Pinn says the staff sergeant, which is actually the next rung up the ladder. Absolutely.
And we're both really good. Our office here is pretty good. We have some really good supervisors here. So Sean officially, I outrank Sean, but Sean officially has a different supervisor.
Sergeant Kulik's my supervisor.
Yeah.
Because we're actually in different offices, so we have a different chain. But Sergeant Campbell is a sergeant, and you're sort of everybody's sergeant.
Yeah.
Any sergeant is a sergeant.
Yeah.
Okay. Can an officer show up at my door and demand a breathalyzer test? That's a very complicated question with many different ways of answering it. But if
it depends.
It depends. If there was a specific belief that you were operating a motor vehicle whilst under the influence of alcohol, and they were following up on that suspicion, then yes, they could. Under the HTA, they couldn't just randomly door to door everybody on the street and say blow and provide a breath sample and make that demand. It wouldn't be lawful. It wouldn't go anywhere. But technically, yes, if you were, and there was an example recently on TikTok where Someone answered the door. They said, "We got a complaint from another police service that your driving or your vehicle was being driven in such a way that there's a belief that you might be impaired." And in that particular situation, based on the suspicion that they were under the influence of alcohol, that demand would be lawful.
And the time frame for that can now extend to 2 hours after the driving as well.
Yes.
So that includes if you go home, if you are dumb enough to be drinking and operating a car, and then go home and then continue drinking, then it's the presumptive is that the reading that you get at the time would have been the same as when you were driving,
Yeah.
which is something you should be aware of.
And one of the reasons that came into play was because people would historically drive drunk, and then when they get into a crash or something, and they go into their trunk and take a bottle of booze and say, "I was so stressed out, and now I'm going to drink," and they think that that'll cover it up. Well, this is specifically against that type of defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people were obviously doing that, and it was seen to be an issue, so they found a way to plug that hole. Is it something that lawyers and lawmakers were discussing a lot when it came into play in 2018? Yeah. Have we seen it abused, and were they concerned about it, or have they raised any concerns? Not that I'm aware of. My understanding is this is not something that is being widely adopted and pushed onto people, and this is specifically to plug a specific loophole. And I think it's a good thing, because we need to stop impaired drivers, and we need to hold people accountable. And if they're finding ways of getting out of it, that's bad for like everybody.
I agree.
What do we have here? We have, is it legal to have? Oh, this is a good question. I don't think we've ever had it asked this way. Is it legal to have spacers or a wide body car?
To a point.
There is a maximum width, but additionally, if that spacer, which pushes the wheels out, have the wheels now protruding beyond that of the body of the car, that's a problem. And it could be a safety issue. It could be, it depends. It could be a mud flap issue. There's a couple of different ways to go, but it depends.
Yeah. And when you reach, I think it's above 48 inches wide, you are required to have additional lighting on your vehicle.
Oh, no kidding.
Have you seen trucks that have, the cab lights with the yellow lights across the roof?
Mm-hmm.
You're required to have those lights across to show the width of the vehicle as well, including on the tail of your car. You may need some red lights in the center. My snowmobile trailer is 101 inches wide. It requires an additional 3 lights in the center of the trailer, along with the 2 red on the outside. Now, spacers, if you're going to use spacers on your wheels, use some good quality spacers. There have been lots of instances where the spacers are being used were not of good quality, and they come apart. And then all of a sudden you have a wheel separation, and you've ruined all the work that you've done for your car and put everybody else in danger of a flying wheel. So spend the money. No offshore cheap ones.
Yeah,
get the good ones.
Buy right, buy once, save a life. The cheaping out on these things is potentially taking someone's life. You just don't know yet. It see some pretty horrific wheel off situations, and that's not fun for anybody. Okay, we have some really great questions that popped in, and that's a dad joke. I'll put that to later. We talked about this. What are the requirements to become a police officer? Just because we're running out of time, I'm going to suggest that you go to tps.ca/careers. I'll put that on screen for you. And that is where you can get all the information about it. And you can feel free to DM us or check it out and then come back tomorrow on our next show. We can talk more about it. But because we are running out of time, I'm going to move on to some other questions. But I hope that that answers it. The most accurate question about who my boss is, it's Leo wife, my wife. Yes, absolutely. Okay. If she's watching, I'll be hearing about it. Motorcycle question: between and around cars when traffic is stopped and go illegal. So this is I believe a question about lane splitting and lane filtering. So can you drive in and around between other vehicles operating on the road? That's going to be, it could be one of many things. Generally speaking, that's a careless driving or a stunt driving or a dangerous driving, depending on the observations of police officers. So it's not a safe practice. It's not legal. Some places it is legal. Los Angeles allows it. But they also have a caveat that it's extremely dangerous. So
it certainly would be a marked departure of the normal speed, and you would get a stunt driving ticket from me anyways for that. Maybe the way you're driving as well. Maybe it's careless as well.
Now, if we're talking about stop traffic, where all traffic is stopped and you're at the last vehicle in the pack, and you're for safety reasons going to snuggle in between 2 cars, that is questionable. It's not specifically legal or illegal, but I understand the reason behind it, and I think you might be able to articulate that. That's not drive through the pack of traffic to the front so you can be, first to go off at the light, but not to be the rear vehicle, because in the event of a vehicle driving into the pack of vehicles, you'd sustain more damage than the car. So I get that. That's different than driving through traffic, and we're both motorcycle riders. We can understand that concept. Are motorcycles allowed to use are we allowed to use all HOV lanes on highway? So high occupancy vehicle lanes, yes. No, highway,
not everyone. Yes, on the provincial highways.
Highways, and that's what I was in the process.
You were there. Yep,
so if you're talking about 400 series highways, those are high occupancy vehicle lanes and very specifically listed as such. Those allow a number of different people to use them. One of which is motorcycle riders. It used to be that you had to have two people on the bike. Now you can go solo, which is great. Just like an e-bike. Not e-bike.
No,
sorry,
not an e-bike.
Definitely not an e-bike. An EV, an electric vehicle, or a hydrogen vehicle, green-plated vehicle specifically. Now, if we're talking about the diamond lanes in cities, in the city of Toronto in particular, those are not HOV lanes. Those are multi-use diamond lanes, and the signage depicts what you can do. So if the motorcycle isn't there, you can't actually use that lane.
Yeah, we have a lane on the Don Valley Parkway. It's a shoulder actually, but it only allows go buses to go up it, and it's specific go buses.
Yes.
So
this is true.
As much as I want to use it, trying to get home,
no go. Question is, do you think dash cams should be mandatory? I think they absolutely should be.
Absolutely.
I don't want to have a vehicle, and I recently, finally, it took me months after buying it to finally rewire it, because I didn't want to have cables sagging and being in the wrong place. And I'm waiting for my Amazon delivery today so I can perfectly adhesive and clip all my wires so they don't do. Anyway, I'm very happy. Everyone should have a dash cam. They are magical, truly. There's nothing better than having an independent recollection or an independent recording of the events that took place, because that's a true defense or a true record of what happened. Okay. David has a question.
Back in just 1 second.
Okie dokie. What are the rules around adjustable air suspension? My understanding is the ones that, if you're talking about like stiffness of ride adjustments, or do you mean the stuff that jumps up and down? Because the bag stuff is not legal from my understanding. Can a bus without passengers use HOV lanes? Yes, buses are permitted without passengers. They are called buses, and buses can use them at all times. So can airport limos, and I believe taxis are covered. Canadian Carper says I have a front and rear facing, and so do I. I had a front facing for years. Now I have a front and rear, and I was rear-ended, and I really would have loved to have seen the driver on his cell phone. I assume that's what was happening, because how do you drive into someone at speed on a stop and go traffic? Just saying. Chris says, so many cars having tinted windows, really dark in Toronto. Why they are still allowed to drive? Well, here's the deal. It's absolutely legal to have dark tinted windows. Absolutely, no questions. They should be charged. It should be removed. And in some cases, their license plate should be seized because the vehicle is unsafe. But our focus is generally on the big four, the ones that the offenses that lead to serious injury and death on our roads, and that's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Will I write a ticket for the tinted windows? Absolutely, and most of us will. But it's about prioritizing. So if I see it, I'll deal with it. If I'm focused on speeding, I'll be dealing with everything and speeding. That didn't come out right. I'll deal with everything that I see, but speeding will be the focus, because we are looking for the most serious offenses, and it is serious, tint. But we do the best we can with what we have. Does the HTA extend to municipal provincial parks? No, the HTA is, well, it depends if their roads are roads. If the provincial park has a road that travels through it, then the road is still the road, I'm guessing. If it's an assumed road, if it's a city road. I don't know about provincial parks, because I don't know the last time I was in a provincial park. But like, for instance, the road inside of the High Park, I believe, is a road. I don't think you're not in the park. I don't know. I'm tapping out. Sergeant Campbell might know the answer, so we'll come back to him when he comes here, because now I'm just spinning in circles. Can you transfer a United States license? If yes, how? If you are an American who has transplanted it to Ontario and now are residing here, you go to the Ministry of Transportation or the Service Ontario location, and you just trade it in. It's pretty simple. You apply for one here, you register your vehicle here, and you have 60 days to do that. You get your Ontario license. So this was a question that I've gone in circles with.
See, I had to do a little bit of education.
Oh,
Well, I saw the poor officer's on night shift. He's just going home now. He's had a long night, but he missed something today or last night when he was doing something. So
you did the
I
education.
had to catch him.
Here is a fantastic question, and I did
Right.
not know the answer because I've gone around circly. HTA extending to municipal or provincial parks. My thought was if it has an actual road that travels through it, it's an assigned road, it would be HTA.
It is not.
It is not.
It is not.
There you go.
100%. So each provincial park has its own traffic bylaw or traffic law.
Well, you know what? Come to think of it, you look at the right here, the exhibition grounds. That has its own.
Yep, absolutely. That's a bylaw.
Okay.
So exhibition grounds where the road's going through there with traffic lights and stuff like that, the HCA doesn't apply there, but it does have a bylaw, the Toronto Exhibition Act or something like that, that has a traffic component to it. Same with provincial parks. Although stunt driving
applies
anywhere, including the municipal parks or the municipal and provincial parks.
I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah, some of the fines are actually pretty good, like pretty up there. Yeah, even worse than the Highway Traffic Act. So
not bad. I was digging myself a hole not being able to answer that. Camaro 2.0 wants to know if dash cams are admissible in court. If you're providing your dash cam to give an account of what happened, then they're fantastic. We love them.
Yeah,
they really do a good job.
And you know what? Quite honestly, if you are defending yourself, if you do happen to get a ticket, you can use that as well. There's some qualifications that must be, and the Justice of Peace will ask you about those. And if it qualifies, then sure,
they should accept it. How many days does a police officer have to file a ticket? Well, quite frankly, there's a number of days back when we had paper, but we're now pressing the button right after we send it. So is it 7 days?
Still 7. Yep.
Technically 7, but usually it's 7 seconds after I finish writing it that I would send it. And it's all electronically delivered now. But 7 days is the official. Good morning, sir. What does this solid line mean? Talking about the one on the road?
Maybe there was a picture with it as well.
I don't think so, but I don't know so. So the answer is solid lines suggest you should not be crossing. However, it's not enforceable. The line itself isn't enforceable. But if you decide to cross it and cause a collision, that part is enforceable. You can't do. You're responsible for whatever happens.
Sean, down there, the one you're pointing on right now?
Is what?
Yep. Richard is absolutely correct.
Unless it's like Highway 587 through Sleeping Giant Park.
So Highway 60 goes right through the middle of Algonquin Park.
Oh.
And the Highway Traffic Act still applies. Good catch, Richard.
Well, he's on it. He drives a school bus. He knows stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, the late to the party, Logan Grant. Morning, fellows. Wow, it's like seeing double. You should go
actually, this happened and we didn't even talk.
It's true. You just showed up and then we couldn't figure out why we were. It was like looking in the mirror.
Yeah. I had a shaving accident and then I became a goatee guy.
Well, I was a goatee guy before, but I actually got to a smaller goatee. I'm trying to flex and I'm concentrating all weekend. I concentrated on my follicles. Ryan Pinn says, "What do I do if I smell marijuana coming from the vehicle ahead of me?" Well,
911.
That's a possible impaired driver, and that is a legitimate call to 911.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I smell it all the time on the DVP on the way home, and I'm constantly looking for the source. I've yet to find it. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's incense. I don't think it's marijuana smelling or flavored Christmas trees on the.
You know what? It doesn't happen as much anymore in vehicles because now with all the other ways that you can ingest it, inhale it, chew it, all that. People are getting a little bit smarter, harder to.
Smarter?
Well, I don't say smarter. Maybe hiding it better. Still dumb if you're doing it.
Yeah, impaired operation is impaired operation. What do we have here? Smell of marijuana from occupied running vehicle. Call police. That's what Richard's saying. It is 7 minutes after 11, so it's that time. But there was a dad joke, and we have a bunch of dad jokes. So let's switch channels into. You know what I didn't talk about? I didn't talk about the April Fools. I didn't talk about the post. I was
Yeah.
going to talk all about that.
That post caused me problems.
Because people wanted to know why we were sending this information, and they didn't take into account, I guess, the day.
Yeah.
It's an old video.
I'm thinking that video has run its course.
Yeah. Well,
although it got an awful lot of people talking.
Well, that's the whole thing. And the goal of most of what I post is to create conversation. And this certainly created some conversation. We had a whole bunch of drivers on TikTok who said, I don't like the fact that you're going to be able to catch me breaking the law. And the law is wrong because I should be able to speed. And there was all these discussions where they were basically upset about the fact that they were going to be held accountable.
So the post started a couple of years ago, and it was a post of a different sergeant and Sean standing on the side of the Gardner Expressway on a bridge with what looked like a camera. And it was a camera, but it wasn't a speed enforcement camera. Yeah. And the joke was, we're going to catch everybody who's speeding, and we're sending it all in the mail to your house.
People were not happy.
On my training this weekend, when they put it out there, the police officers were coming saying, they can't do that. It's not the Highway Traffic Act says they can't do it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. They can't do that. I know that. What the heck are they talking about?
My response for most people who said, you didn't put a sign up. I'm like, oh, on April 1st, it's exempt. Well, good luck getting a conviction in court. I said, don't worry, we're only holding trials on April 1st. So I tried to make it as obvious as possible that it was not serious. However, there were some other people who were very upset because they thought we were taking traffic enforcement lightly or not doing our job by not doing enforcement. And the truth is, we're very big on enforcement. Vision Zero enforcement team is out there every single day doing what they do best, which is holding drivers accountable. And members across the city are doing the same thing in their jurisdictions. We are very serious about those who put lives at risk by driving in violation of the law.
Yeah, I agree.
So just saying, I was going to go all day. There were some great comments that came through. I was going to talk more about them maybe for another day. We said dad joke time. So let's start with Chase's dad joke. How did the computer hacker get away from the police? He ran somewhere. Yeah, it's bad.
No, I like it. I like it.
I've
heard that one before, but I like it.
I've never heard it. I do like it, but I mean, it's bad in terms of they run away. Run away. All right. Have you ever traveled on a flying carpet? It's such a rugged experience. Rugged, not rugged. Rugged.
Yeah. Okay.
You going?
My friend asked me what rhymes with orange. So I said, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. I accidentally hit myself in the head with a can of soda. Thankfully, it was a soft drink.
Wah, wah, wah. What is a spy's favorite type of shoes?
I'm going to guess sneakers.
Yep. They are sneakers.
They sneak around. Sorry, boss, I won't be coming to work today. Why is that? I thought it was wise to. Why is that? I thought it was wise to. Yeah.
No.
I get it, but I don't get it.
Why is Peter Pan always flying?
Why?
He never lands.
Neverland. Okay.
Neverland. Neverland.
I'll take it. It's acceptable. What else you got?
Here's a car one. Did you hear about the guy who swapped the labels of the pumps at the gas station?
Why? What? Who?
It was an April Fuels joke. And that's it.
Well, I say that, and I saw a great question here. Is it illegal to drive with one working headlight?
See, it is illegal.
Illegal. You must have two headlights. You can operate with one taillight, but you must have two headlights. So how do you deal with that? If as soon as you become aware of it, to get it dealt with?
Well, you have to do a circle check of your vehicle every time you go out there and operate it anyways.
Yes.
Not like anybody does. But yes, lighting is part of your vehicle safety checks.
And a follow-up question from a different person, so it's not really a follow-up. Sir, if we get the G2 license, then can we drive on the highway or not? So highway is any road, but expressway or roads that have speed limits over 80 kilometers, yes, you can. A G1 can only operate on those roads with a supervisor that is a licensed driving instructor, whereas a G2 driver can drive anywhere, but does have some other conditions you need to know about, like the number of people under the age of 20 that they can drive with between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. There are limitations in the first 6 months for having only one, and in the second 6 months having up to three, but there are exemptions for immediate family. And we have one more dad joke because my wife.
Why not?
Yeah, my wife said I should do lunges to stay in shape. That would be a big step forward.
I like it.
I do too.
I like it.
We'll give him the symbol.
Logan, yep, I like it.
All right. I'm not playing the traffic song today because it's going to take 30 minutes to get the song to load, but I will say that we'll be back tomorrow and you should join us because we do this every day to answer your traffic and police questions. We appreciate you. Drive safe, everybody, and park legally.
Bye, everyone.
We'll let the song just fade out on its own. And then maybe something will pop in and we'll have a reason to say something else. Thanks to everybody in Tracy and Emma and Anthony and Owen and Perky and Kevo and Pranav and did you say Anthony already? Lots of folks here. To everybody on TikTok, I'm probably gonna post something like really, really soon. Check it out. And we're at the end.